Let's get started. So, man, this is a great topic. One of the things and I did say this morning to Woods. I said, one of the biggest benefits I've had in my entire career, and I mean this from the absolute bottom of my heart, was, and I didn't know this until now, but, me and you've been kicking around this concept of, the having a burning desire, creating a prey drive. I've referred to it as, the goal process. But I told Woods this morning, I said, Woods, man, let me tell you how it went with me and Jay. I wouldn't even know. I get on a plane and we be setting goals. I remember the time we wrote down sell 50,000 websites, right? That was the goal. We wanted to sell 50,000 websites, 2005, December 6th. 2005, 50,000 websites. We had till December 14th to come back and hire from scratch, get an office, buy equipment, all this stuff. But what I was telling Woods was, I said the thing about Jay is I think he really helped me always make sure I was setting the next goal, or vice versa.
Right.
Because there's a benefit. Unconsciously, when they say iron sharpens iron, we were always bumping up against each other. And today what we're going to talk about is some of the conversations me and Jay have behind the scene, and specifically around really deconstructing for you guys, the importance of goal setting and some of the real principles. And this isn't your traditional goal setting. We're going to talk about goal setting, the pros, the cons, going through the motions. But most importantly is, what do you do when you accomplish the goal? And even, I would like to unpack a little bit, because I had this conversation since our conversation. I've had the conversation with the person that I said, well, it just sounds to me like you're not setting big enough goals.
Right.
So from a goal setting standpoint, just to get this party kicked off, one of the things that I think people have to understand is, I think it's not just goal setting, right? Goal setting. I've certainly set a lot of goals, but a lot of the times, people don't set them, or they do set them and they don't accomplish them.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So, why don't people accomplish goals? And so what I was telling Jay earlier today, and I won't say that anymore, but earlier today, me and Jay have talked about this for an hour this morning, and that's why we're bringing
It's a long walk around the neighborhood.
Yeah. We went on a 5-mile walk together, if y'all can picture it. And it was, but half of that walk was by the beach. We went on a walk by the beach and talked about goals. And, I was telling Jay, I was talking about a specific individual, and I was just saying, I think it's, about a month ago, we were talking about drive, and we were talking about, when I walk my dog on the walk, Jay has said to me, man, that dog has animal instinct when it sees another dog. Now, I say it wants to play. I'm not convinced it wants to play anymore, but I used to think it wanted to play.
that dog ain't trying to play.
But my dog wants to get at another dog. And we were talking about the word drive. And so, think about the difference between goals and then actually having the drive. And the problem is that there's people out there right now that have goals. And I think one of the biggest things that you got to understand is the reason why, especially for those of you that aren't a part of our online community, we have a 8,000 member community, which is referred to, and you can see behind Jay's shoulder there, Honey Badger Nation. And the reason why it's such a strong community is there's a shared set of goals, there's a shared set of beliefs, and there's really a common enemy. And at NAEA, we had a common enemy. We had a shared set of beliefs. And, so it's not about just goal setting. Goal setting to some degree actually attracts or repels people, right?
Yeah.
And so why would you say, or why don't you just share anything that you have to share on the topic as far as goal setting, the things that you've learned?
Yeah. So, it's really interesting because, we did have a great discussion this morning on the walk, and there's certain things that, the thing that's difficult in anything is how do you create desire for someone else, right? So like I can relate that to my kids that wrestled and either they had the desire to want to win or they didn't, to people that I've hired, people that I talk to on a daily basis that say they want to accomplish a certain thing related to, agent attraction or the real estate business. And, they say they want it, but they don't necessarily have the desire. And some people just don't even have the awareness that they could do more, be more, have more, accomplish more in their life. And so, we've always said it starts with awareness and then the desire. So where does the desire come from? And that was the interesting conversation that we were having. And I don't know, it's difficult when you're like looking back at yourself at the things that you do to pinpoint, being like, why did I get up every day? Why did we get up every day at 4:00? And, the first number, when you would call me it would be 4 something in the morning, during the 07, 08 time frame. And even before, after that, since then, pretty much you called me this morning. Luckily you called Woods first because it was 4 something when you called him. So it was like 5 when you called me, but that's, what is it that creates that drive? And, I look back to like the very first time I started setting goals, and I did it every single year consistently. And I didn't know, and it's so interesting because like I have the book. It's around here somewhere probably. And it was the very first year I set goals when I got into real estate. It was after my first year I'd set my goal for the next year. It was this is how ambitious I was. $35,000. That was my goal. That was it. But then it took me through a process of kind of reverse engineering. How was I going to make this money? And well, what did you do last year? And I didn't sell very many houses, but I had a couple of FSBOs, a couple of expired, some REO properties. I'm like, well, this shit was working. I started figuring out what was working. It's like, well, I'm gonna do more of that, I guess, right? And the next year, I had a spot for 5 years, and I think my best year of my goal was 75,000. I wasn't thinking big. I didn't say I have some crazy dream. But every year I would look back and I would hit the goal. And I was like, oh, that's pretty damn amazing. Well, maybe I should move the goal up. And then all of a sudden I was setting bigger goals and I would hit them. Literally, I remember the first year I made $200,000. I remember my tax guy said, you made more money than me. And I didn't, I was like, awesome. How much do I owe in taxes? And it was a whole bunch. And he's like, we don't worry about this. We'll fix this. You go out and keep doing what you're doing. And the next year I set a goal of 500,000. I remember breaking down how many buyers, how many sellers, how many calls, I did all the homework to how in the hell I was going to do this. Like it was doable, right? I actually felt like I knew what I needed to do in order to accomplish that. Which when you bring up the 50,000 websites, that totally messes me up because I don't think we had a freaking clue how we were going to do that, but we sure as hell believed that we could do it, right? And there was a certain number of people that we would have to talk to. And there was a certain, ultimately there was a million real estate agents and 50,000 seemed doable. There was like 50,000 agents that we probably are like us and that like to get leads and that would pay less for the website that we had that what they were paying for another one that would be comparable. And that seemed doable. Somehow in our minds or in our process of setting that goal, we believed that it was possible. So there had to be a belief there that it could be done. And so, but after doing that and hitting the 500,000, and then the next year I had a crazy ass goal of 1 million, and I hit 500,000 and like 510,000 that year, which was crazy to me. Like in the time, it was such a big crazy goal, and it was so crazy that I actually hit it. I was like, that's unreal, and I became really deeper seated belief in laying out the plan, setting a goal, and laying out the plan. And then the million, the next year was 1 million, and I hit 1,030,000, and so that was even crazier to me that was possible. And so, it was like, how in the world is it that you lay out, you set that clear goal and then you reverse engineer it and you can actually do it. And at this point, my belief in your ability to hit a goal has gone, probably 10x what normal people probably have. And so that's kind of, when I'm thinking back to this, all the crazy goals we've set, hit, missed along the way, there's a lot of belief that what's possible.
Look at this.
But where does that desire come from?
Look at this. Can you read that? What that says?
I can't read it because I think my internet here's.
Okay, let me read that to you for those of you who could not see. This is dated. Let me tell you the date on this because I dated. This is my journal, March 14th, 1999.
Mm.
Goal, pay off loan. Balance on loan, $4,500. Kobe owes $1,300. Tyler Hicks, I sold him my Harley, owes $3,000. Pay off loan by July. Goal, get a Rolex. Goal, get a full-size K Blazer. See, the thing that I want to point out is I was always driven because I saw your boat. My goal, I learned how to reverse engineer my goal, but that's not where it started.
Right.
Like, it's like a girlfriend, right? Like, when you're young and there's a girl that you like, what are you going to do to try to get that girl? Especially, I mean, assuming, go on a date, get her phone number, right? There's people, I learned, I'm telling you the truth. If it goes way back to when I was 14 years old at Six Flags. I was standing in the line at a roller coaster with my cousin that I had just met. And I said, and I pointed, you know how the lines go back and forth and back and forth? And I was scared. But there was a girl and I thought she was attractive. And I said, hey, look at that girl. And he said, get her phone number. You won't do it. Now, hence, after I made that conversation, this is like 11 in the morning. I spent the rest of the day with that girl and her friend and my cousin at Six Flags because I had the courage to take action. But that was a goal that I have never set. He pushed me
Right.
outside of my comfort zone, but it was the feedback loop. I was like, I was doing something for the first time, but I got the girl's phone number. And that led to an entire different set of beliefs around, because a lot of people, I believe that, I know when I saw your boat, I had went through enough things at that time from building a lawn service. And I'm not saying that to say that I did something special because everybody mowed lawns, but I had a lot of equipment that was a goal of mine. And the reason I wanted this equipment was because my goal was to do apartment complexes, right? And so I had to go and take that loan. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I wanted I wanted the Blazer.
You wanted the full-size Blazer.
I wanted the full-size Blazer. And so the thing, and I want you to think about this for a second, because when you were talking, I mean, I think there's a thing that we learned on how to reverse engineer goals. But I also believe that there was a time in which we thought things that were once not possible were possible. And I believe this is why agents don't do agent attraction, why they don't make the call to the independent big brokerage, why they don't call that person down the street that they know, because they've already made up a narrative and a story that's put them into a state of inaction. But what we did, and there was an exercise Michael Gerber did, and he did this for Clayton Mask, and this is what changed everything. They all went to, they paid a high ticket to, and you're going to hear a common theme here. You're going to hear personal development. You're going to hear conferences, and you're going to hear Jay getting around Brian Moses and seeing a Rolex. What you're going to hear is that the biggest constraint that you have is going to be in belief. That's going to be belief, right? Beliefs. I did a whole talk at one of our EGSs about beliefs and them diminishing. And one of the things you can do, these are thought experience. I was sharing with Jay that I've been watching this high level, very articulate, sophisticated guy that, when I listen to him talk, I'm like, dude, this guy is brilliant. But when I listen to him talk, he does a lot of what he calls thought experiments. And I've been introduced to him. And what a thought experiment, it's kind of playing with your thoughts, right? It's just kind of playing with, well, what if? What about this? How about that? And I believe when Clayton then went to Michael Gerber's E-Myth, he did a thing called a dream room. And it was I remember they described it. It was a full white room. For me and Jay, there were times where we got out of our element. When we teach the clarity report, we get out of our element. But even before that, I remember going to my first real estate conference and sitting on my balcony and writing in a journal that I was going to buy a Hummer. That's what I was going to get. I remember seeing you in your boat. And so I believe at the core, now, whether it's a girl, and the reason this is important is because that's changed for me. The goals now are my family's goals. And if you think about, there are things that it's not that I don't want a house. I want a home. I want a place where my wife feels comfortable that she can create a routine and provide the best environment for my kids. And what does that mean? access to the best schools, access, those types of things that she wants in a home that other homes that we have. I mean, for me personally, in a home, I mean, there's things that I want. I don't want my kids' toys all over the living room. When I saw what I think I told you this, Jay, when I first sat down with an architect and literally went through the scale of drawing out it was expensive. Actually, the first meeting wasn't expensive. And technically there's a caveat there because I got 2 meetings, but that's not the point. The point is that when I did a full scale drawing with my wife of our forever home, if I could go back in time, I think everybody, the day they get married, should say, where are we going to be in 10, 20 years? Remember, this is the org chart. How do I think outside of my current reality, right? How do I think outside of my current reality? How do I dream, my perfect day? All of those little exercises that eliminate the biggest constraint. Because the thing that me and Jay were talking about is, why don't people have desire? In the book, Think and Grow Rich, it says in every page of this book, you're going to see the secret to success, how to think and grow rich. But if you are not ready, then you won't see it. If you are ready, you're going to see it in every single chapter. And in every single chapter, they have a burning desire. Frank Kern came out with a product, 23.8 million. If I'm wrong on the numbers, it was over 20 million in 24 hours, sold a product on how to sell anything to anybody. And the core thing was, you have to learn how to create desire. And so the question is that some people, and this is true, the people who are setting small goals, I believe somebody did it for me, which was in the beginning, you were one of those people. When I saw what was possible, now I had to believe, right? I had to believe, but I had a set of beliefs because in my life, I was looking for the vehicle. And when I said, and you said this, and I said, if I see somebody else do it, I feel like I can do it. I never feel like, well, they did it and I'm not able to do it. I feel like, what do they know that I don't know?
I feel like that I'm definitely the same way. There's never a point that, and maybe not everybody is. And so maybe there's something here we need to unpack. But you remember when you went to Alex Sharford's office and you called me because for whatever reason I didn't go or couldn't go or whatever. We had just taken
because I was unconsciously incompetent. I had no awareness. I did not know what I didn't know.
Right.
I knew what I didn't want and I knew what I wanted. And yes, I remember that.
But after you told me you would have walked all the way to Austin, Texas, barefoot on broken glass to get to see what you saw, because you saw what it looked like. You saw what a $12 million company looked like, operated like. Not all, in all reality, all the inner workings and everything. You saw how people were, how groups were being managed and led, and you saw the morning ritual.
I saw a better way.
Huh?
I saw a better way.
Right. You saw a better way. But you were convinced in that moment, there was no question we could do what you had seen that they had done. Right.
100%.
And then it's just we got to reverse engineer and figure out how to get there. But that belief at that moment, and so do some people just not see it, or do they not believe it when they see it, or where is it that people fall off?
But here's the reason I went. The reason I went is I wanted a lake house.
Right.
That's the point.
Right.
Right. Because the reason I got on the plane 2 days before Christmas was via text message. He said, listen, I landed on December 23rd. The next day was Christmas Eve. It was the last day of their office. They were doing their little Christmas thing. And that's, it was the week of Christmas. If I'm wrong on the date and it was the 22nd, just give me permission to be wrong a date. I think it was the 23rd, but I was already wrong one time today. And so I know I can be wrong. But it's not the detail, right? The point that I'm making is here's the problem is that I was trying to unpack the drive. Let me tell you something, Jay Kinder. When I came to your apartment in Frisco, Texas, there was 100 staples on the wall. And I talked to your son about this. I said, what was on your dad's wall stapled to the wall?
I know I had a whole bunch of stuff stapled.
What was stapled to the wall?
Lots of stuff.
Everything you
Yeah,
wanted.
true. That was
Everything.
my vision wall.
He had an entire wall with staples because he literally
Literally stapled to the drywall.
stapled to the drywall where he had printed out on the internet all of the things he wanted and he had stapled them to the wall. And if you do not believe that the reason you got up at 4 a.m. is because you thought it was possible.
Right. 100%.
And that's the problem is for us, we went through several exercises. I think you have to be able to see it, and you have to be able to see it visually, right? You have to be able to see what you want. Then you have to believe that you can get it. And if you don't, that's the problem is that there's, for me and you, we were able to see effort is the energy it takes to overcome resistance, right? So you have to put out effort. But belief is diminishing as you're putting out the effort.
Right.
And so as you put out effort and your belief diminishes, and if you don't have an experience that's going to show progress, Tony Robbins, happiness is progress. Meaning if you're putting out effort with no progress, you're going to be unhappy. And now your threshold of being unhappy might be different than mine. Just like if we go running, your threshold for pain might be dependent upon how many times in your life you've had to push effort to know that what my friend Chad Smith, a mutual friend of ours, said his grandpa used to say to him is success is only getting up one more time than you fall. That's it.
Yep.
You just one more time. Was that for us?
Yep.
One more time?
Yep.
I mean, we fell.
Yep.
But we didn't tuck our tail and leave. And so that can be applied to, asking a girl for her phone number. That can be applied to calling expireds. That could be applied to anything that you do. It becomes effortless when you know that you're not going to, the only thing that's going to stop you is quitting. But most people don't start. That's the problem. It's not the 1%ers that have created those experiences over their life and have dealt with those emotions. It's the person who did not push through and know that, oh my gosh, it didn't work. But guess what? The next thing I did work. And I'm going to give the meaning to it not working as learning and making me more valuable today than I was yesterday. And so my association with failure is I'm not going to not try because I might fail. I might be embarrassed. I'm going to go ahead and try because I know that I just have to fail more often. And someone has told me that before.
Right. And it's all it takes is that one little success. And then you're like, holy shit, this is working, right? Like, it's just like playing golf, right? Like it can be the most frustrating sport in the world until you crush one down the fairway. And then you're like, I love this game, right? And, you don't just give up and never play. You don't just quit and give up. You have to keep pushing. But once you have that one success, man, at that point, now the belief has changed. It is possible. In fact, if you just continuously get better, it'll probably happen more often, right? And that's the thing that that's where I think most people probably fall off is that they're not pushing enough effort to get to that first success, or they're giving it the wrong meaning, the failure the wrong meaning.
So yeah, that is true. And here's the thing. So the real thing is that if you have desire, meaning, let's say you have goals, but you don't have the drive to accomplish them, then the question is you really have to identify where your beliefs are wrong. You really need to stop and see, because in theory, I mean, we're talking about goal setting here, but listen, I know a lot of people, and maybe you've done it yourself. Maybe you have a goal right now. Maybe your goal is to earn a certain amount of money, but that goal is the same goal every single year and it just doesn't happen. Then the question goes from, when it's not happening, well, maybe you're not reverse engineering the goal. Maybe you're reinventing the wheel. Maybe you're not finding someone who's already achieved the goals that you're trying to achieve and found out what methods did they use? What systems did they use? What tools did they use? What people did they hire? What companies did they hire? What scripts did they use, right? Like, what was their methodology? What was their philosophy? And so that's going to apply when you're reverse engineering. And that's when me and Jay always say, hey, we're modeling, or you might have heard us refer to copycatter number 1 to copycatter number 2. You know, getting to the goal is different than having a goal. Most people don't have the goal. And the reason, and if they do have the goal, the challenge is their goal is set too low. And the reason their goal is set too low is they don't know what is possible, right? They don't know and one exercise you can do that will take you out of the current state is just saying, if there was no limits, if there were because it's the book, Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. If you want to change the question in your head and you say, okay, fast forward 10 years, I've achieved literally from a financial achievement, I've achieved financially. What would my perfect day, what would my perfect life? Because the minute that you can see that, then you can start thinking, well, what would I need? What things would have to be true in order to achieve that? One day I talked to Jay. This is early on. I swear this happened early on. And I was talking to Jay about a strategy. And he said to me, this is what he said, I have no interest. I said, what do you mean? Laid out the strategy. Sounds brilliant. He said, I have no interest. I don't want to do anything unless it's residual. Now, for us, what that meant was, if we're going to go get a customer, we rather, get that customer. And Jay, I actually found a Google document where you laid out the formula for the customer acquisition cost, which included the value of that customer over time. And the point is that if we were going to go out and spend time, energy, and effort, we didn't want to live in a life that was transactionally based, meaning where every single month we were back at zero. We wanted to build something. And so it was the awareness over time of living transactionally that created the pain of starting from zero, that then engineered an awareness of, well, how do other people do it? And it was from that we ended up building a company that did, over $8 million in revenue, where most of that, not 100%, but a majority of that revenue was residual revenue. And the basis of that one decision of being able to understand that, hey, we can do it that way, or we can do it this way. Why would we do it that way versus this way?
Right.
And it's creating that space to design what it is that I call it living your life by strategy. It's creating that clarity of being able to look out into the future and being able to see the end, what that looks like. And I know you're ready to say something because I can see it in your eyes.
Oh, dude, you said so many brilliant, amazing things. I hope everybody should rewind and just listen to everything you just said again. And I do want to unpack this living transactionally, because when we didn't know any better, what do? We set a goal of doing more transactions than the year we did before. And I just remember what most people refer to as my best year ever, number 2 in the world for Coldwell Banker, 500 something sales or whatever, that I remember during that year having my best month, and it was 50 something or 60 something sales or closings. It was a bunch. And I remember that it was an ass whipping of a month. And at the end of the month, and it started all over, and everything came down off the board. You know what I'm saying? And it started over. I was like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And it was going into the winter time where I know the numbers are harder to hit. And I know that we're going to have months where we might be below what we need to be even profitable. And that might happen for 3 or 4 months in a row just to make it back to the time when it's good again. And there had to be a better way. Transaction, living transaction to transaction, when the, every night you start at zero and every month you start at zero, there had to be a better way. There's no doubt. One of the most powerful things that we learned, and even though we would set these goals, is that there's got to be a better way. And then that next better way for us was residual, and wasn't trying to live transaction. There was something else you said I wanted to mention. I can't remember what it is now. Going back to where you started with, how important is vision, right? And I think back to, some of the exercises I've done. You listen to The Secret. What's that?
Lower the goal.
Right. Yeah. You do want to. Yeah. You can do one of two things. You can lower the goal, or you can move closer towards it. Yeah. As you were mentioning, Um,
That's what a lot of people do. I mean, my bone to pick with it is that if you're watching this, I'm talking to you. You set a goal. If this, you're either one of a few camps. You set goals, and then they just shuffle off. You never take the time to engineer them. You don't really believe they're true. That's why you don't engineer them. And or you set them, but your life isn't living congruently on a daily basis in your calendar of things that are aligned and vectored to the goal. You're doing things that are moving you not closer to the goal. Everything you should be doing, if the goal is clear, and for me, just personally, the drive that I have that has allowed me was wanting, whether that was wanting a better life, whether that was wanting to find a better way. But if you can get clear, and this is called adverse, there's a concept in goal setting. It's called the rudders and the oars, right? And the rudder is you got to first see what direction you're pointing. And then what I do is I say, what sacrifices am I willing to make to get to the goal? Am I willing to sacrifice sleep? Am I willing to sacrifice going out? Am I willing to sacrifice Labor Day weekend because I won't get back because I got to fly out on Tuesday to the conference? Am I willing to invest the time or the money into myself? Who do I have to become? The people that have the goals, that have achieved what I'm trying to achieve, what skills do they have that I don't have? What books have they read that I don't read? What conferences do they go to that I haven't attended? You know how many times I've brought someone to a conference who thought I was smart and said, shit, Mike, didn't learn you were getting it all here. I see exactly your little magic trick. And then they went back and built a similar business, accomplished similar goals, done better, more profitably, but they didn't have access to the information. But I had to pull them cricking and screaming and selling them on, hey, it will pay. I mean, we used to say it pays to, I mean, if you really want to know in your life how to set a goal, start with all of the things in your life that you hate and all the things that you love. Identify all the things. If this is what these are called, mental models. If you had a wish and there was a wishing well, what wish would you wish for today? Would you wish for transactional revenue? Or if anything was possible? That's the question. If anything was possible, what would you rather have, right? Who has the business? Who has the lifestyle? How did they do it? And here's the biggest challenge. It's emotion. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. You will never achieve a goal. Rudders and the oars. Rudder is where your direction. Oars are what you're doing daily to get there. If you keep the people in your current circle that are doing the things that you are doing that you shouldn't be doing, that have the beliefs, the shared beliefs, this is called misery likes company or whatever it is that you want. If you have to get around the people. That's people. I used to have to try to explain the power of a mastermind. I used to have to explain it. But the fact is I was around people that were producing at a higher level than I was, and I was able to see how they thought, how they think. Everything from when they order dinner. Are they one of those, hey, we'll take a separate check, da-da-da-da-da? Are they one of those people, how are they living their life, right? How do they behave? Now, if I see a guy that's got 10 million in the bank, and I got a friend, I told Jay today, he changed my life. He changed my life. I swear on my life, he changed my life. He literally in a lunch, he was one of the most successful people that I had a real relationship with. Like a guy that would come to my house for hours during the day and drive in the snow, which he did. But he was way more successful than me. And he told me why his goal was around building his dream home. And when he painted the picture of, I mean, there was a lot of logic in there, how much time you spend there, all of those things. And he painted the picture of his office. And when you only have about 2 hours to spend, being able to go in your, are you going to have an infrared sauna? Are you going to have a cold plunge? Are you going to have a workout room? Are you going to have a library? Are you going to have a place separate for your kids? That's why I went back to when that architect allowed us to draw out the dream home, I said to myself, I would have paid I saved a lot of money when I was young, and I would have paid a very significant amount. It would have been well better invested by drawing my dream home and printing out the blueprint. The blueprint, the 1-inch to scale print, and framing it and putting it over my bed. That's what I would have done. If I could go back in time, I would have met with an architect. I would have drawn out my dream home. And the reason why is, for me, that's what I want, right? I want my wife to be happy. I want my kids to be happy. I want to be happy. I want to, and here's the process. Let me tell you about building a house, just so you know. When you build a house, it's progress. It's progress. See, in our lives, so many things aren't progressive. And so but when you build a house, once you pull the trigger, it's so cool the day you pick out the lot. It's even cooler when you pick out the floor plan. It's even cooler when you pour the foundation. It's really cool when you go see the framing. And then when it's drywalled, and when you're picking out the paint, and you're picking out the furniture, and when your wife's family comes for the first time, and your best friend comes for the first time, then your parents come for the first time, and then a new friend that you came over comes for the first time, then one of your kids' friends come up and they get to do their first pool party. Every single thing, it feels like progress. That progress feels like happiness. It creates drive. It's the chicken or the egg. Does production create motivation, or does motivation create production, right? So if motivation is drive, what creates drive, right? And it's progress. If you're doing something for a long time and seeing no progress, your drive will run out. I don't care if you're Michael Reese, Jay Kinder, Tony Robbins. You're not going to see Tony Robbins do the same thing with no progress for a long, extended period of time. That would be like doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Is insanity. That's the quote. It doesn't mean that you change the goal. You just change the strategy. You start iterating, knowing that it's possible and that someone else did it. And so it's all of those belief systems. But when the goal is so crystal clear, when the goal is so, like, okay, I told you, when I drew out that house, I'm telling you right now, publicly, I came to this conclusion today. I wanted to know why I was driven, but then why in a certain scenario I didn't take action. And I said it was because I would have been embarrassed or fearful. Because when they told me what my mortgage payment was, which, by the way, this was 14 months ago. Okay, 14 months ago. And the mortgage payment that I was scared of, my mortgage payment, my payment now in my current house is practically double that. So just think about that and let that rest for a second. The payment that caused me to not take action and move forward, that was increasing my house payment by 4x, which I was already living in what I thought was my dream home. But my mind expanded. When I asked Jay, I said, Jay, are you I'm not going to even get into it because we could get into it. But this is the thing. I get embarrassed now sharing my goals because they're too big. I feel like it's not fair. I really do. I feel like it's unfair for me to think. I told someone my goal the other day and it was crickets. And it wasn't crickets because they didn't believe me. It was crickets because they freaking knew that their goals were too low. And it was like, well, shame on you. How do you get to achieve so much? Well, I didn't achieve shit, but I did start in the first step, which is thinking it was possible, right? I did point to the highest place on the rack, and I was crazy enough to be willing to get my ass up in the morning and say, well, let's make some progress today, right?
Right. That is it. You got to be a little bit crazy.
You do have to be crazy. And you have to.
One thing that we kind of danced around that I think is an important framework for people to kind of identify where they're at and where they may be falling off is that formula for change that we talk about. We reference it all the time, but we didn't really give it in the context. So it starts with, if you want to change anything in your life, it starts with awareness. You have to have the awareness that you could do more, be more, have more. Then it's desire. But when you have that desire, and this is where you'll find we'll fly anywhere in the country. You'll do whatever it takes. You'll walk barefoot to Austin, Texas on broken glass just to see what it would look like. That's you start seeking, and that's where um, I feel like when the desire's there, the seeking never ends until you find the better way, no matter what. Like you're like water. You move around, you're gonna find it. If you got to read 10 books, you're gonna read 10 books. If you got to go to 10 events, you go to 10 events. Whatever it takes, that seeking, and then ask. You have to ask the right questions. The quality of questions you're asking is going to determine what you get back in return, and then receive. Right. So like if it's in in fitness, and someone says, yeah, you're going to have to get your ass up every day and hit the gym. And you could be like, well, I don't like that diet plan. Let me see if there's someone else out there that has something easier. Oh, 4-minute abs. That sounds like that's much better. I think I'm willing to receive that. You got to be willing to receive it. You can't be looking for just your own justification of how to do things. Trying, maybe what you think is right, and you're looking for things that are evidence that you're on the right path. You got to be willing to receive what it is you're hearing, and try to not listen through a filter. And then once you receive, take immediate action. Just like we've been talking this whole time, it's that massive action towards the goal that creates the new belief, so that that now it's possible. And if you don't take that immediate action, then you'll never change the belief, the doubt that you have that well, maybe I can't do this, or this isn't possible for me. So that take immediate action. Then it's persist. Are you persisting? Are you consistent with it? Doing something daily towards that goal. That's the oars. The oars. What are you doing daily? That's driving the result. Are you moving daily towards that? And then the last piece, and this is the piece that I think if you really broke down, especially the success that we've had, Michael, like the accountability that you are as a business partner and I am as a business partner, and the fact that sometimes one of us is exhausted and the other one's just getting ready to go, and vice versa. And having that right environment around you, and the right people that are challenging you and pushing you consistently, that accountability is what allows you to get through the hard times when there's going to be hard times. There are going to be times that you don't want to do the work. The difference is your environment can be what pushes you through to do what's necessary. And that accountability piece is important. It's real important. I think it's easy when no one's around here to tell me, hey, you didn't get up today. You didn't make those calls today. You didn't do what you said you were going to do today. Being an entrepreneur and a business owner, and in the world that we live in, there ain't nobody checking in on you. And so when you don't do those things, there's nobody that's going to, slap you on the wrist, or that's going to pat you on the butt and say, okay, we'll get them again tomorrow, Tiger. I mean, you have to create that environment for yourself. And I think that's been one of the things that's helped us to be successful, is that some days when maybe the work, we didn't want to do it, you got somebody else there that's checking you and making sure that you're not, you ain't slacking for very long anyway.
So let me ask you a question. We have the formula for change. We've talked about, you have to believe, you have to set big goals. Where I feel like a lot of people are going to struggle is taking this to action. Let's just take the formula, right? You have awareness now. You listen to the call. You seeked. You wouldn't have listened to this if you weren't seeking, right? So you had awareness. You wanted to get something. You didn't know what you were going to find, but you watched this episode. So you seeked, right? Now the real thing is you got to start asking questions. So like this would be the next step in the process. Like you got to ask yourself which questions. You got to ask yourself, are my goals big enough? Where am I wrong? You have to question storm. You have to literally question storm. That is an exercise where you write down all of the questions, right? You have to ask all the questions. You have to go, you have to seek, ask, receive. Then once you ask the questions, maybe I'll call Jay and, hey man, I think I know what you're going to say to this, but I want to ask you a question. I said that to you yesterday. I think I know what you're going to say to this, but I want to ask you a question, right? And so you have to go and ask, and then you have to receive. But when it comes to taking action, I believe the first step in taking action is, for me anyway, is that you have to get out of your current reality. You have to get out of a reported world. You have to get into what we call as a created world, right? Like you have to get into a situation where, what is that life that you're going after look like? And principally, when Jay said, well, dude, I ain't doing that, I'm going to do residual, he knew principally what he was looking for. You have to know what you're looking for. If you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to know when you find it. So for me personally, one of my goals early on, Jay, was it was core capital. And I used to tell you, I want to be able to go underwater. If going underwater was saving money, I want to go underwater and hold my breath. And the reason why is because I was fearful, because I know who I am. I was fearful I'd kill myself working if I was in a situation where I was always on the edge of the abyss, right? I had to move that abyss. I had to move away from that edge in order to be productive, right? Not reactive, right? Making short-term decisions in exchange for long-term outcomes. Doing what I had to do, not what I wanted to do. So I had to create that space, right? So one of the things you can do is create space. You have to create space, identify those people, who are the top 5 people right now that you know personally, or you need to know personally, of, but maybe you never reached out to them. Reach out to them. Have you ever called a stranger? Have you ever approached a stranger out of envy, out of, hey man, I'm out of respect, out of, hey, listen, man, I want to tell you, I've been watching you from afar. You've done a great job. And, I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. That alone, find a mentor. Find a coach, right? Find someone who's already helped somebody get there, but do that inner work. Because what I'm here to tell you is you can listen to this entire, you can get awareness, but if you don't create an action plan of what you're going to start doing every day, for me, what I did was I came up with, I remembered my conversation with Jay. I had almost zero passive income, and I literally wrote down passive income. That's what I wanted. Now I thought I was going to get it one way, and I ended up getting another, but I did know that was what I was going to aim for. The opportunity presented itself, right? The opportunity presented itself after I wrote it down. I didn't only wrote it down, I wrote it in a book. I wrote that I wanted my passive income to supersede my fixed expenses so that I could, by definition, be free, which we called the freedom number, right? And the freedom number, the life that I wanted was that I would be making decisions on what I wanted to do, not what I had to do. And so the question, for me or for you, what is that? If you can get really clear on what sacrifices are you wanting to make, where's that rudder pointed? What are the things you're going to need to do daily? What are the oars, right? Who are the people? If you go back and just watch this again, we giving you the formula. I guarantee you have no more information than we have. The only difference that we did was out of the last step of accountability is we had 2 crazy people that thought it was possible, that was willing to be accountable to the action plan of what we were going to do every single day in order to get there. And so, I don't know where you are in your life. I just know that happiness comes with progress. I know that change happens in an instant. The only reason you look at the past is to learn. All that matters is the future. And what really matters is, are you clear? Are you clear about where you want your life to be? Are you clear of the things that you need to stop doing? Are you clear of the people you need to stop being around that maybe not be a positive? Because I'll tell you one thing, environment is stronger than will. If you get in the right environment around the right people who have all are headed in the same direction and you're all winning, you're getting that belief, but you're knowing because you've seen the guy next to you make progress, right? When Jay, like if I see you and you're like, man, I've created $26,000 in passive income in the last 6 months. I'll be like, hey guys, I got to go. I think Jay found what I was looking for. And it's not over there. It's over here. Right.
Right.
And so environment is stronger than will. Is your environment? Are you in the right environment? Are you living in a reported world? Are you doing every single thing because you're just going through the motions? Or can you make the switch? I'm telling you right now, the biggest constraint to having everything you want, solving every problem that has a solution, is never going to be the problem. The biggest constraint is going to be how you're thinking about the problem. It's going to be in your own thoughts. So you need to start creating the space to do the thought experiments, to create the vision that you have to be able to see so that you can set those goals, so you can reverse engineer them, so you can create that game plan, and so that you can take that massive action that's going to be required. And I'll end with this, and I know you probably got something that you want to end with as well, Jay, but I will tell you, and this is one thing I can promise you. This is true. I promise you, because there's some goals that I got to, and I said, man, if I had to go back and do it again, that was way harder than I thought. Right? I've sworn I've done that. I was like, well, that was way harder than I thought. But I will tell you, so here's the thing. If you have the right goals, it doesn't matter. Once you get there, it doesn't matter. You wouldn't trade it for the world. You wouldn't trade it for the world. You would say all of that progress and all of that learning was worth it. The worst parts about it were actually the blessings. Those were the biggest lessons. That's what makes me so valuable today. And so I will tell you, whatever the goals you set for yourself, just know however hard you think it is going to be to accomplish them, it's going to be twice as hard. So you might as well set big goals because you can get there, because anything is possible, but you got to believe it's true.
Yep. 100%, man. Great stuff. Love it. Yeah. I would just say, you may think you're happy with what you have right now, but I can tell you, if you stopped working today, you wouldn't have that for very long. Most people that are watching this, you have to get up every day and do the work. You might as well set a big goal. You might as well be moving towards having freedom in your life at some point. And, if there's not things that you want, like the things that used to be stapled to the board for me were things, they were not just big house, boats, cars, trucks, all kinds of things that are not as important as me
Buses.
to me today.
Yachts,
planes. Yeah, still on the board. But those are the things that I want to be able to have those experiences. I want to be able to give those experiences to other people. I want to be able to share that time with people that I want to spend time with. But those are they're still the vision board. They're still the things that you want to go after. But you got to set some goals for a better life, like a better lifestyle for you, your family, your friends, for something. It's something that's going to inspire you to want to get up every day and do the work. Otherwise, you're just going to go through the motions. And so I think it's important that you get clear on what that better life looks like for you and for those that you care about around you, in order for you to really have the desire that's necessary to push through to get to where you want to go.
Absolutely, man. Well, I thank you for jumping on here today. I know that you got a crazy, fun, chosen schedule, doing the things you want to do today, right?
That's right.
So, man, I appreciate it. And we always say, man, we will see you at the top
or from the top.
Take care.